Okay, we're on the air.
Good morning, everyone out there. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for the Golden Rain Foundation. I'm calling the meeting to order. The California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation, April 3rd, 2018, 9:30 in the morning. I would remind everybody, turn off your cell phones or put them on mute, please. Thank you. As I have done. And we do have a quorum. So we've established a quorum. And now I'm going to ask Director Milliman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand, face the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 3, media. I see you're back there. Good morning. Nice to see you again.
Are you listening? Can you hear?
Nope. All right, we'll start out item 4, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve? How about a second? Any discussion?
Can you hear him? You don't say anything.
All in favor of the agenda? Raise your hand. Unanimous, thank you.
He already said it's unanimous.
That's Jim Juhan coming through.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Mr. Director Juhan is with us via telephone this morning.
And I vote yes.
Thank you, Jim. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Nice to hear your voice.
Well, nice to hear yours.
No one has said that, Jim, yet this morning. I appreciate that. Okay, item 5, approval of the minutes of our March 6, 2018 open session. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? Mr. Mattson, a second. Any discussion?
This is Jim.
With no further discussion, raise your right hand. All in favor?
Talk now.
No opposed?
Talk now. Yes.
Good, Jim. Thank you.
Okay. I abstained.
Cheryl, you got Jim's vote, right?
Jim abstains.
I abstained.
He abstains. Jim Juhan abstains.
That's because he wasn't here, is the only
Yes,
reason. Yeah.
yes. And that's appropriate. Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Report of the chair. I don't have much to say today other than I hope we get a little bit more rain. I hope everyone has been doing well. It's encouraging to hear Director Juhan, who's had some medical issues, feeling better, and it was nice to hear his voice and to be reassured that he's healing properly. We have a lot going on, so we'll just move the meeting forward. I would just say it's nice to have everyone here today. All right. Item 7, update from VMS, Director Bender.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Bender, a member of the VMS board. For those of you not familiar with the VMS board, we are 9 members appointed by GRF and the mutuals. Our function as a board is to provide oversight to VMS management and staff on all issues related to employees and their productivity. We continually benchmark compensation and benefits, monitor IT development, suggest and debate process improvement to customer service, among other issues. VMS board members provide a report to our respective boards at their monthly meeting. Typically, I tell you about 5 goals of our strategic plan and recent accomplishment. I will be doing something a little bit differently today. Today, I want to step back and look at how these patterns of accomplishment have taken place since we replaced our old management, PCM, and have moved to self-management with our new agent, VMS. Many of you remember the discord in the village a few years back. I just moved here and thought, what have I done? So many contentious governance issues. It also propelled me to get involved, and that's a hint to everybody out there listening on TV6. Come forward, join a board, or be on an advisory group. At that time, a group of folks created a Laguna Woods Village 2020 vision and spoke about it broadly in the community. It listed a broad range of 20 statements. For example, included in the vision were things like using handheld devices in the field for real-time status and performance, having staff initiate and recommend process improvements, Clubhouse managers being accountable for all the service activities that take place in their clubhouses, property service requests that could be done electronically or by phone, having a powerful website that connects the community and community news is pushed more transparently, and information for decision making and efficiency are more readily available. One of those statements made me laugh. That was board time cut in half. Oh well. Hopefully you'll recognize that we are well on the way to this vision, but how is it done? For some too fast and for others not fast enough. The first step was cleanup with some brute force, or maybe I should say higher expectations. That's a little more elegant, thrown in with some technology. Examples, way back when, there were 5,000 resident calls in backlog. Now 93% of resident calls get answered within the day. There were 20,000 active community cards that were not being used or shouldn't have been available to the people who still held those cards. A lot of them got deactivated and picked up at places where the cards were tried to use. And if you remember back when, there was the garden plot waiting list of 400. Second step after the brute force was reorganize and adjust staff, move on folks who could not get with the higher expectations for performance, and hire in those who have shown superior performance in their career, like Chuck Hollen, Ernesto, Chief Moy, among others. The third step was process re-engineer with increased technology, and then finally tune the process thereafter. So this is why I stepped back and thought about the last 2 years, and you're getting this nostalgia tour. As is typical, a director comes to each VMS meeting and talks about plans, accomplishments, and obstacles. Chuck Hollen came in this past month with a mere 8 items in information technology initiatives and 7 within broadband and media services. Most of these align with the vision statements I briefly talked about, and it's 2018, not 2020. Here are some initiatives Chuck spoke about. Having bank reconciliation done electronically and automatically rather than manual processes. There are 10 to 12,000 work order automations that have become tracked electronically, and what that does, instead of doing data entry and tracking, there's time left for supervision, which is what's needed. There's online credit card payments, not just checks and cash at resident services. I think that went live last week, Brad? Okay. Security vehicles now have real-time incidents alert and computer-aided dispatch with GPS, which allows people to get to where they need to be faster when there's an incident. There's a pilot going on of whole home DVR services. There are 10 test clients and there are 80 on the waiting list. And Chuck describes, rather than a manual system, for plan a ride, it's now a system Uber on steroids. Resident Services now has an automated system in the work and a queuing management system. These are things that are going on. Now, Bruce Hartley didn't want to be bested by Chuck, so here are some of his recent department accomplishments. He owns the paving section, which is concrete replacement, sign work, street sweeping, and saw a decrease in pending work orders from 800 in October 2017 to 348 as of March 2018. And he's working on getting those down as he can. Third Mutual at the end of 2017 had over 75% of the open request for landscaping. Now that's less than 30%. There's still a lot of work to do, but there is a decrease in the number of unhappy residents with the condition of their landscape. Weekend and plan a ride, on-demand services showing steady growth. 2018 averages 2,500 trips per week with 735 consistent riders and a showing of 20 to 50 new riders each week. His division has shown using technology for fleet management like parts and repair, maintenance schedules, that there is staff has saved many hours by not having to do manual data entry or reconciliation of the parts inventory. A comparable system is being used for fuel management, ensuring the tanks at the service center are filled with pricing when it's most favorable. Okay, moving on. Did you know that there were 10,000 rounds of golf played in the village last year and that 15,000 people visited the recreation office annually and that recreation had 260 recreation events? And I missed the one on Saturday with my grandchild. Very bad. And you can see the beautiful new lawn bowling field at Clubhouse 2, and garden plots are now available. Finally, there are some staff comings and going. Our dear community manager, Lori Moss, retired and got married and moved to Arizona. We had over 20 applicants for her position. A board-involved interview panel of 5 talked with 3 candidates, and I'm sure Brad will talk about Siobhan in a minute. Jackie Giacomazzi, our HR director for over 30 years, has retired. She's been replaced by Carrie Weldon, a well-seasoned HR professional who at one point in her career was the HR person for Catalina Island. Finally, we should welcome Eileen Hollen as our new PR and marketing managers. Stop by their offices to say hello. Thank you for your time and attention for my nostalgia tour.
Thank you, Director. 10,000. 110,000. 110,000 yearly, annually. Okay, thank you for that report. We've done a lot of good. I'm amazed when you break it down like that. I hope the people at home and the people here in the audience realize just how much we've actually accomplished. And stay positive because much more is coming. We're doing a great job. All right, with that, Brad, CEO's report, item 8, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, members of the board, members of the community. It's always a pleasure for me to come and address you and our community on some of the interesting things that are going on. We did have a pretty good event at the Equestrian Center on Saturday. It was well attended. It's really a great venue for Easter egg hunts and activities for grandkids, and I think you can all be proud of the quality of the event that was put on. And of course, we followed that up with our Easter dinner on Sunday. So a lot of good things going on, a lot more coming down the pipe, including the Senior Summit on the 20th. That's always a very popular event. Usually 700 or 800 residents will attend that event. Also that same night, we have a kind of tribute to Simon and Garfunkel. And I'll tell you, I was over at the Performing Arts Center the other day, and I saw a director in line who would be probably the director least likely to be suspected to be a Simon and Garfunkel fan. And it was Andre Torn. He said, "Oh, I just always loved Simon and Garfunkel." So there he was buying his tickets. So Andre, we look forward to seeing you there. We also have the Kentucky Derby coming up at Clubhouse 5. That's a great event. Wonderful food, hat contest, all the good stuff. Get a lot of residents to attend that. And then, of course, we'll have our Mother's Day event on May 13th. That's always popular as well. A lot of things going on in the sort of construction planning arena. I won't steal too much of Jim's thunder there, but I know we're about ready to select somebody for the Clubhouse 1 assessment. We get a good look at it, come back to you with recommendations on how to address that facility moving forward. This facility, we got bids due shortly for the new roof and HVAC at the community center. That's coming forward. Obviously, Pickle Paddle's coming forward with bids probably into this week. Restaurant 19, we're kind of holding off on, it's really a carpet and chairs and a little bit of paint. It's not a big project, but we're going to wait till after the Memorial Golf Tournament before we disrupt anything over there. So if you're wondering why that hasn't happened, that's why. I'm pleased to report that our sponsorship level for that tournament this year has already exceeded last year. And so I know Eileen and her staff and the members of the golf club are out there finding sponsors to support our foundation. I think it's a very worthy cause, and I thank all those who participate in putting that event on. It's a big event, and it's done quite well. I get a lot of calls, not a lot of calls, just say a couple of angry calls. That's different than a lot of calls about Pool 4. And so I just want to once again be real clear here. As we've gone to remodel that, we've found a lot more problems there than were previously identified. The first of which was some structural problems when the plaster was removed. And so we fixed that and replastered. And then we had some pool equipment issues. If you've looked at the equipment there, it is quite old. The gentleman that we have that is sort of our pool engineer, he's one of those guys, if he leaves, we'll all have to stop swimming. I mean, because this equipment is really old, and he's a guy who knows how to run it all. And so, yeah, he's an MVP, but in the long term, we need to replace that with modern equipment that is much more reliable and easy to maintain. So some of that's ongoing. And then we found, we were just about ready to open it, and an under slab leak was detected in the pool area. And it comes from apparently the hot tub jacuzzi there, and that pipe's been leaking apparently for some time. And so we went out and got a contract, actually got some bids, and a contractor's going to start working on that probably later this week. So I'm hopeful that the next couple of weeks we'll have that done. But as is often the case, when you have a lot of deferred maintenance and you start opening things up, you find more problems than you thought. And so I apologize to all the residents who love Pool 4. We have cranked up the heat at some of the other pools, so I know the therapeutic nature of Pool 4 is very popular with our residents, and I wanted to let you know that I think at Pool 1 we have dialed up pretty good. And so if you like the really warm pool for the next couple weeks, Pool 1 would be good, and then we'll get this maintenance work completed. We're just getting ready to select the energy consultant. We've done a lot of energy work here in the community, LED lights in most of the buildings, solar projects. It goes on and on. And GRF probably has the largest remaining utility bill, though I suspect with all this LED, it's probably come down a little bit. But we look forward to many more projects that will save residents in terms of energy costs, but also make our community a little more environmentally friendly. I think that's very important as well. Lisa mentioned a little bit about Plan a Ride, and it's not a surprise. If you look throughout the nation, fixed route transit usage is declining dramatically. I believe LA Metro did 7 million less rides last year. So take a look at that. Now I suspect that Uber and Lyft did 7 million more rides, but I don't know. But we're seeing our residents make a clear choice if they're able. Then they'll choose to call Plan a Ride and get taken fairly directly to their destination and then brought home. Doesn't mean we're not going to do fixed route. It just means we have to adjust to the preferences and expectations of our residents, and we're trying to do that. And I know Judith and her committee are struggling with all these kind of big issues dealing with transportation, and we look forward to that dialogue with you. I want to talk a little bit about tech. Chuck tells me now there's 120 people on the waiting list for the DVR. It's kind of grown a little bit. And they're going to start installations very, very soon. The 10 test case worked out very well. The installations are a little more complex than we originally thought. It takes a little longer to hook up. But the capacity of these new units is significantly better than anything that we have here. And so I wanted to let residents know, if you're interested in such a thing, you might get on the waiting list, because it's probably going to take a while to get all these installed. You probably noticed some of the security cameras around the village going up and coming down, and did you see that? Yeah. We're adding additional security cameras in the village, and then also getting rid of the old analog cameras and putting in digital cameras, because the analog just used too much capacity when you're live streaming all that video. And so, in a similar vein, we'll continue our effort to eliminate analog TV by the end of the year. So there's about, I think, later this week, there's several channels that will not be available in analog anymore. So it's a good time to get a nice digital TV and enjoy high definition broadcast. I do want to point out, a lot of residents are a little bit mistaken. If you'd have a digital TV and you plug it directly into the wall, for the most part, you are not getting HD or digital broadcast. There's a couple channels that broadcast unencrypted that you'll get, but most of the digital broadcasts are encrypted, and so you have to have some sort of a box, even if it's just a box that decrypts the transmission and also provides you a nice guide. I think those are about $7 a month. So if you're interested in viewing in digital, you really have to have some device there to convert that. And so I just want to make that clear. Though you can plug a digital TV in there and get hundreds of channels. They just won't be HD. We're making some interesting changes to the website. We've kind of made use of the techie way to do things now is with a hamburger menu and fewer selections, and our residents made it pretty clear they don't like the hamburger menu. And so we are going to eliminate it and go with some straight drop downs that will eliminate having to click so many times to get to where you want to go. And so we think that's going to be a big upgrade for our residents, and I think that's going to get hopefully approved in the next day or two and then implemented and provide a much easier navigation experience for our residents. So we're pretty excited about that. And I did want to, and Lisa mentioned a little bit, the mobile work order system is out in the field being test drove. That is going to change everything about how we provide service to our residents, for everything from being able to track work orders, letting you know when it's done, letting you know when we're coming out, all electronically and seamlessly, letting you rate the service electronically. All that sort of stuff is in the mix. And so, I hate to say it, but I don't really like this car wash down here very much. But they have a nice little mobile device when you go in there, and you tell them what you want. that's what we need to do. We need to be able to provide instant service and communication to our residents, and I think that's going to happen very, very soon. And then lastly, yesterday was a first, and I don't know how it's going to work out. It's either one of the smartest things we've done or one of the dumbest things we've done. And time will tell, but we recorded the third M&C meeting. I think it was 2 or 3 hours long. I wasn't at it. And then we're going to summarize it and voice over it and then rebroadcast it for our residents. We never done that with a committee meeting before. They're too long to show in their entirety. I don't know if any of you remember, when I was a kid, we had the Notre Dame highlights at 8:30 on Sunday morning, and so they would show the whole Notre Dame game in 30 minutes. And so that's what we're doing here. We're going to show the whole M&C in 30 minutes. And so we'll see how much that costs, how difficult the production is and all that. And if it works out, maybe we add some other committee meetings to the mix too. And again, trying to be more transparent, accountable to our residents. So, Mr. President, that completes my report. Oh, I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry. Wow. So we did a rather extensive recruitment, and I wanted to thank a number of board members who participated in the interview process. We had all the boards represented, and we had some nice candidates, and everybody was unanimously impressed with Siobhan Foster, who is somebody I've known for many, many years. She has extensive municipal experience, both in the city manager's office as a public works director, and all kinds of construction management, water, sewer, road interchanges, freeway interchanges, railroad grade separations. She has probably one of the more extensive construction experiences any public official in California. So I think she's going to be wonderful. She's got a very analytic mind. She sees things very clearly. God gives us all different gifts, and Siobhan has the gift of discernment. She knows what is and what isn't very clearly. And so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce for a few words Siobhan Foster.
Thank you very much, Brad. Mr. President and members of the board, it's my privilege and honor to serve the community of Laguna Woods Village. I'm very excited to be here. I think this is the culmination of my professional municipal experience. I think I bring a lot to bear to the community. And the most important thing is a belief that we can always improve services and that our customers must come first. And I've strived my entire career to make those two objectives happen, and I'm looking forward to doing that here as well and joining our wonderful management team and getting to know all of our residents. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shimon. And on behalf of this board, welcome. Welcome. Sure. As far as Brad's comments, I just wanted to say I'm really glad that the group working on Memorial Golf Tournament is ahead of schedule. We would like to beat last year's $40,000 to the foundation this year, so I'm very happy about that. That's excellent work. Also, for the directors and people at the residents, as far as the pickleball, it's really important that we move as quickly as possible. We've been dealing with this for quite a while. So as soon as the bids come in and you're ready to make a recommendation, I will entertain a special meeting just to handle that and to get that moving. So I'll let everybody know down the road what happens with that. Ernesto said he thought the bids would be in about the 7th. So once they look at it and make a recommendation, we're going to be ready to act on behalf of the residents. So that's all. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. We'll now move down to the open forum, item 9. At this time, speakers may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation. There's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker may only address the board once during this meeting. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum, but I don't see any reason that everyone won't get their full 3 minutes. I don't like to cut people off. I would like to just hear you out. So with that, Cheryl, who's our first speaker, please?
Our first speaker is Juanita Skillman.
Good morning. Juanita Skillman, 2154N. I'm here today to speak as a corporate member. We have been noticed of a meeting on April 9th to refill a vacancy on this board. And there are many of us, myself included, who do not agree with the process that was undertaken to do this. I know that your bylaws say any 12 months, missing 4 meetings in any 12 months automatically removes a director. But I don't see how that can be when their term started in November. You can't go back and look at a previous term and count that missing and have it. They were not a director until November when we as corporate members elected them. Now, I understand that the viewpoint of your attorneys and that you were told that this was an automatic thing and had to be done. And so as corporate member, I probably will be asking the other corporate members to clarify that part of your bylaws. But it just doesn't make sense to me that the 12 months did not start when somebody's term started, rather than going back into previous years. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. Next.
Our next speaker is Chris Collins.
Chris Collins, 3306Q. Good morning. I'm here to bring an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village. What do you do when there are only a few cans of food left in the pantry and no money in the monthly budget to buy more? Unfortunately, this is a problem that does happen to some of our neighbors. One of the sources of help is the foundation, which provides grocery cards to needy village residents. All they have to do is contact social services at 949-597-4267 to see if they qualify. Foundation assistance can also mean keeping the electricity on, continuing telephone service, paying for a needed prescription, or paying for medical, dental, or respite care. Another source of help is the South County Outreach Food Pantry located at 7 Watney, Irvine, California 92618. Local residents can receive a week's worth of food from the food pantry once a month. The pantry is operated on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 3:30 p.m. and on Tuesday from 12:30 to 3:30. For eligibility information, please call 949-380-8144, extension 220. If a village resident needs transportation to the South County Food Outreach Pantry, the foundation provides free transport once monthly, which is available by contacting social services at 949-597-4267. Another food pantry is available here in the village on the fourth Wednesday of each month. It's in Clubhouse 7 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., and it's provided by the Saddleback Church. For more information or eligibility, contact Vicki Cox at 949-609-8574. The Crossline Food Pantry, located on Moulton Parkway in Laguna Woods, is also available as well to South County residents who are in need. It offers free food 3 days a week, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 to 1 p.m. For information, please call Crossline Church at 949-916-0250. Another source of food is available to eligible needy seniors who are at least 60 years of age at Lutheran Church of the Cross, which is located on El Toro in Laguna Woods. The senior food box is available on second Tuesdays of the month. This program has an income requirement in order for eligibility. There's another program that's available there too. It's called the Senior Grocery Program, which includes fresh fruit, vegetables, meat, dairy, and bread, but does not have an income requirement. This program occurs twice a month on Fridays at 10 a.m. Here are the dates for the upcoming food distribution: April 13th and 17th, May 11th and 25th, and June 15th and 29th. I know I'm over time. If you have any questions, please call the foundation. And thank you for your ongoing support.
You're welcome. Thank you, too.
Our next speaker is Delphine Davis.
I've got a handout which I'd like distributed.
Is your first name Daphne?
My name's Daphne, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I'm Daphne Davis, 3314B, and I'm here to speak about publicizing the new online event schedule. I addressed the board last year regarding the need for an online event schedule. It has now been developed, and I'd like to thank all responsible. It is extremely powerful and has remarkable potential. It's available on the village website under calendars, events, schedules. It's also available as a team-up calendar app on mobile devices. It is in desperate need of marketing and publicity, both to residents and club organizers. I have shown the calendar to residents whom I have encountered. All have been blown away. None of them knew about it. The calendar should be populated with all events occurring in the village. The village has loaded most events organized by them. I did, however, find a few that were not loaded. For example, the TGIF dances, the village bazaar, and the opening ceremony for the village games. Very few club events have been loaded because the club organizers don't know about this. Once it has been fully loaded, it should be the system of reference for all events and activities. For example, the events that are listed in the Globe could be based on a query from the online event schedule. Weekly and/or daily reports should be posted in the clubhouses. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Daphne.
Our next speaker is Sharon ONeill.
Good morning. Sharon
morning.
ONeill, 581P. First, I'd like to thank the board and M&C for repairing the footbridge that crosses the creek down near the Valencia end, instead of making it a big deal like the one in the mitigation area. We all appreciate it very much. Next, many of us miss the landscape committee and wonder if you plan on bringing it back to life. Will we ever see that committee again? It seems that some issues have been dropped, like the window of opportunity for working in the creek once a year. It seems that October through January has passed with nothing being done at the creek. It still is a mess with weeds and willows and dead plants of all sorts, plus the crime scene and the sandbags that are there. Also, referencing the article that was in the Globe this past Thursday, are we really expecting bulldozers with rock and steel pilings to descend upon us? A few of us attended a local meeting held by the Army Corps of Engineers late last year. I don't know if it was September, October, somewhere in that time period. And they talked about work that was going to be done, but indicated that it would be southwest of here, like on the other side of the 73 freeway, and would not be anywhere near this village. The creek in the village would be left alone. So we just wonder if you know if that plan has changed. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Our next speaker is Lucy Shimon.
Good morning. I'm
morning,
Lucy
Lucy.
Shimon. I'm speaking as a member of Third Mutual and not as a board member of any kind, as an individual. And I am concerned that for many years, probably 7 or 8, we've talked about the possibility of a handyman service. And this is a very popular idea, although Brad has a few misgivings, and the third board is really putting us at the end of the road from what I understand. What I would like to do as an individual is to form a club, since this is the only way to get anything publicized around here, I believe, and ask for people to volunteer their names, address, email, and phone number so that I can make a list of those who would truly like to have a handyman service available to people who live in Third Mutual. And sooner rather than later. Things seem to take a long time. I understand that although United has voted to begin, it's still going to be a couple of more months. Let's fix it if we can. My idea would be to have a list of a couple hundred people that say, yes, I'm willing to pay $200, $225 per year for the services that can be provided by a handyman. This was the original proposal. I believe that United signed up for $200 a month. And, I'm sorry, a year. Thank you. I couldn't afford it. But they also seem very generous in the number of appointments that could be used and so on. These are details. These will come. But I need, in my heart, I need to have some names and emails and phone numbers so that I can have, say, these are the people that say they will buy this if you will let us have it. It takes a certain number of people to make it a success, as you can understand. Brad's plans included fixing up trucks with all the proposed items available right there so that when the workman comes, he can have all that he needs ready. And this is an expense. Plus, there would be dedicated people, is my understanding, that was the plan, who would come into the thing. So may I, before my time runs out, Lucy Shimon at AOL.com. You want to belong beyond a handyman service. Give me an email.
Thank you, Lucy.
And live in Third Mutual, I think, right.
Okay, our next speaker is Dee Backus.
Good morning.
I'm Darlene Backus, 4023-A. And this morning, I'm coming before you because I've been attempting to get some figures of our reserves. I'm very concerned about it. The amenities in the community are wonderful and all the extras, but the main purpose of being here is it's our homes. It's not the activities are second for me. I'm asking a question of all of you. You all have personal bank accounts. You have brokerage accounts. And would you accept not having a regular statement coming into you, letting you know what you had put in, what you have taken out, and what moves you have made with your monies? I'm concerned with the financial health of this community. If the finances are in order, then everything else will follow. If they're underwater, it's not going to happen. This happened with me when well, it didn't just happen, it's been happening, but I've never got an answer. When I received this publication, as everyone did, I'm in Third Mutual, and it was the annual budget report given out on November 2017. Everyone has this. It was mailed to each and every homeowner. And it was put out by Betty Parker, Financial Services Director. And in looking at this, I can see that we are only 16% reserve funded. Now, someone will have to show me, which I've been attempting to find, the accounting here is atrocious, I believe. You can buy the budget book. You can look last 2016, the budget book came out. There weren't even any page numbers. Who's ever heard of a financial statement? When you print out on a computer, it says page 1 of 1, 1 of 2, 1 of 3. And we go in and pay $10 and get the green book, and there's no pages. That doesn't wash with me. Okay, it looks like I'm just about finished with time. But anyway, I have the numbers, and it looks to me like our community is about almost $250 million underwater. Well, you can laugh if you want to, but if it was 100%, I mean, this is out of this. I didn't make those figures up. I don't sit up at night and do that. And then we had a Village Breeze come out. And I don't know if you saw it. I'm going to bring your attention. And it was the second edition, March of 2018. And the article I'm referring to is The Real Scoop on Reserves. And it's right here. And it says The Real Scoop on GRF's Reserve Balances. And it was written by Diane Phelps. I cannot get an answer. I've contacted 5 people, and no one can tell me where the figures in this publication came from. So once again, I'm interested in my home. I bought this place to live in, and I don't like all this stress. And I just want an honest answer where the money goes. I don't want it all spread all over in all these books and publications and Village Breezes. And I think that's only reasonable. I went to my bank on Saturday, and I took 4 accounts. I said I'd like an account history. Like that, they had it for me. 60 days on 2 of them, on the other 2, 30 days. No problem. You can't get that here. And I'd like it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is S. Sonderhaus.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
First of
morning.
all, thank you all for all your hard work. I'm also here to speak about the condition of Aliso Creek. I know, President Circle, you encouraged people in, I think, last month's meeting to go to the committee meetings and express their views and find out what's going on. For those of us who live on or enjoy Aliso Creek, we have not had the opportunity to do that this entire year because there is no landscape committee for GRF.
Correct.
And I would desperately ask you to reinstate that. We also have, there was a staff report put out by Bruce Hartley regarding the maintenance that would be done of the creek. During the maintenance window, it appears almost nothing of that has been done, as Sharon already addressed. Those hideous sandbags are back yet again. Every time they load the creek up with sandbags, they have to make them yellow. Don't you think they could at least buy sandbags that sort of match the landscape? And we've had no way to find out why the repairs have not been done, which were supposed to have gotten rid of the sandbags permanently. And finally, the article that was in the Globe, I contacted numerous people at City Hall, trying to find out what the story is. Once again, because we don't have a landscape committee, we don't really have any place to take this to. So we look forward to finding out whether 300,000 cubic yards of dirt and debris are going to be dumped, if they're going to be right outside our windows. Thank you very much. Again, thanks for your hard work. One other thing. We need a heated indoor swimming pool.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maxine McIntosh.
Good morning, 68C, Maxine McIntosh. And I'm just so happy to report that I didn't wait for people to come to me. I just started asking people when I was out walking how you feel about the customer service in our community center. And every comment was positive. Brad and his staff deserve so much credit for all the innovations they brought in. I heard people like the chairs. They don't have to stand up in line. Their aging bones get to sit down, and the chairs are arranged in line so you don't lose your place. They say, even when my husband called a little bit angry, he was treated so courteously. Everyone is courteous. They clearly give their names. They tell you what they'll do. They'll tell you whether they'll take another call or they'll forward information to someone or they'll call you back. Every comment, many comments. It just pleases me so much. It all sounds really good.
Thank you, Maxine. We appreciate your positive comments. Cheryl?
Our next speaker is Mary Wall.
Good morning, Mary Wall, 239D. Maxine is quite right about the customer service. I had a very good experience this past week, and I didn't have to listen to about 10 minutes of nothing and whatnot. It was very good. Thank you. I'm here about the fixed bus routes. It is the understanding of the bus riders and the drivers that there's going to be no fixed routes, only plan a ride. Many residents moved into Laguna Woods because of the bus service. The bus service has been reduced several times from 2002, when there were 11 bus routes on the hour. Complaints about empty buses. The buses do not run empty. They are on an hourly schedule, and they pick up and drop off residents on their hourly route. Every hour at Clubhouse 1, riders can be seen getting on and off the buses. The buses are a facility, or an amenity, whichever you like to call it. GRF lists 18 facilities: golf course, clubhouses, lawn bowling, tennis, aquatics, etc. At times, all of these facilities are empty. Performing Arts Centre, is there a program every night? The golf course, go there in the afternoons, have a look. Tennis courts, go there in the afternoons. Many of these facilities are empty at certain times. The buses cost too much. GRF wants to save $220,000 per year. Where's the money going to go? Costs for other facilities: GRF building, $6 million plus. Clubhouse 2, $7 million plus. Clubhouse 7, which some of you remember, was another millions of dollars. Lawn bowling, and the future costs for Performing Arts Centre and the pickleball, $500,000, Performing Arts, $7 million. The buses were paid for with grants. All residents who ride the buses shared the costs for all these facilities. Many of the bus riders only use the buses. Laguna Woods advertises a bus service, not a plan-a-ride. The bus service should not be replaced with a plan-a-ride. Plan-a-ride is not a bus service. It's a service that has to be planned, making a phone call to transportation. Many bus riders are unable to use cell phones because of physical disabilities, eyes and hands. Laguna Woods Village residents are retirees, and they came here to retire and not to have to plan their days. Bus riders of Laguna Woods Village deserve a bus service that is easy and convenient, not a plan-a-ride. The 8 fixed bus route that was reduced in 2017 should be reinstated. On behalf of the residents who ride the bus, I am requesting that the GRF board reinstate the 8 fixed bus route that the residents was taken away from in 2017. As I said before, the residents came here to retire, not to plan. The plan-a-ride should not replace the fixed route bus service. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your comments.
And our last speaker is Rosemary Di Lorenzo.
Good morning, everyone. Rosemary Lorenzo, 4015 Cali Sonora 2G. As the president of Third Mutual, I am here to express our support of the comments made by Juanita Skillman, the president of United, regarding the term. It is very important for us, the corporate members, to monitor the ethical behavior of those we have put into office. I would also like to welcome our assistant CEO. We were part of the interview process, and we're very excited about having her here. And lastly, I would recommend that Lucy Shimon come to third so we can go over why we made our decision. It is not our responsibility to dictate to VMS. And we talked to the CEO, and he also felt that it was too much of a burden to put on the staff to have the janitorial, the handyman service for everyone. So we were just trying a different approach until we can make sure that we do it correctly, because we want to do things correctly. And we have a whole new list of possible chargeable services, which staff went over with us yesterday at the M&C meeting. And if she'd like to help us look at the list, because we told Ernesto we would do that, she's welcome to do that. It's in the hands of Bert Moldow, Chair, and also our CEO. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that okay? All right. We will now go to the responses, and I'll start with Juanita and Rosemary. I'm going to read GRF bylaw 6.4.5. It says any director who misses 4 regular monthly meetings within any 12-month period shall automatically be removed from the board of directors, with such removal to be effective upon mailing notice of such director from the president. The automatic removal provision is triggered when a director misses 4 regular meetings within any 12-month period rather than during a particular election cycle. So if you don't like the bylaw, I would suggest you change it. It is very clear. Any of us who miss 4 meetings in any 12-month period are removed automatically. The board also does not have the ability to change that. We all serve knowing that. And frankly, any attacks of our ethics is absolutely irresponsible. Thank you.
I would like to add to that. Basically, if this was not followed, the logic would say that a director could miss up to 6 months' worth of meetings because they could miss 3 months of their prior term in a consecutive way, and then they could miss 3 months of their new term in a consecutive way, which means they wouldn't be in their chair for 6 months, which would not facilitate the board and all the endeavors and all the things we have to handle. And I cannot state 100% because we do not record these meetings or anything else, because that would be, irresponsible and a dereliction of duty of loyalty to our board, that I did discuss with Joanne a little bit about this prior to her missing the March meeting, at the one meeting that I did see that she did attend, and I believe it was a committee meeting, an agenda prep meeting, I think. So my big thing here, that the bylaws, have been in place for decades, and my whole thing is I just wanted to mention to everyone who's listening today that you could be absent for the 3 months from a prior term, 3 months in a new term, so the 6 months of vacating a position, and you could still be a board member. So that logic to me is, I think we did right by following our attorneys, what they said. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Brad, there were a number of concerns, I think, that would warrant your response, sir.
Well, I'll start with Darlene's comments.
Yes.
And maybe Diane would weigh in on that as well. But We operate really in a pay-as-you-go fashion with respect to reserves. We have certain floors that we keep on hand at all times, and mostly what is collected above that from the residents through their assessment is used to maintain and repair the facilities that we have here. In checking your reserves at 17%, interestingly enough, I received an email from Ms. Backus about a number of comparisons to municipalities, and being somewhat of a subject matter expert on it, I'll share my thoughts. If you, when I was at the city of Riverside, we had a general fund budget of about $225 million and reserves of around $40 million, which you is. That's about 17 or 18%, which is about what we have here. And we were probably one of the most fiscally healthy cities in the state. And so I think the reserve levels you have is appropriate. And why would you put, as Ms. Backus suggests, hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank earning 1 or 2% when the facilities, infrastructure around you needs a lot of work? The construction inflation alone, while you're waiting to build this stuff, is going to far exceed anything you're going to earn in the bank. So I think the board is doing exactly the right thing. The money above your floor that you put into reserves is used to fix things up. The sooner, the better. And by the way, when you fix up sewer and water and dry rot and all that, it lowers our operational costs so that we can hopefully, in the long haul, put some downward pressure on assessments here. So those are the things that cause you the biggest problems: dry rot, sewer, and water leaks. And to the extent we can fix those, we'll be able to keep these assessments down. So I think you're doing the right thing, and I think you should continue to do that and continue to make the repairs and take care of the deferred maintenance that's gone on here way too long. I did want to hit one of Maxine's comments. You know, she mentioned about the waiting and how we've changed it. Well, there's another change coming, and so there won't be lines anymore. When you come in, you'll just give your name and manor number to the lady at the front, go sit down, have a cup of coffee and a cookie, and they'll call your name when it's your turn. No lines. Just a very nice experience when you come here. So that's happening pretty soon, and so we'll see how this works, but I'm pretty excited to bring that to you.
Thank you, Brad. Yes, Ray?
I have two separate answers. Regarding the creek area, having been the chairperson for maintenance and construction on both GRF and Third in the past, anytime there's any work done on the creek, we're not the only people involved. You have the Army of Corps Engineers, you have Fish and Game, you have the city, you have Laguna Canyon Foundation, and Laguna Beach. So these are all affected, and Fish and Game. These are all affected. So when you do one thing, you have to go through all of these processes, and people here just don't seem to understand this. It's not, you know, they can't explain this every time it goes on, but that is what's happened in the past, and this is why there are changes. If you do something here and it affects the Fish and Game area or Laguna Canyon Foundation or Laguna Beach, then you're in trouble. So everything has to go down procedures. That's the answer to that. In addition, we had the second situation of customer service. We have a lot of complaints and so forth and so on. And we have a situation I showed Brad the other day. I had a toilet that was stopping up. The customer service came out. They used their router unit to clear it out and so forth and so on. Everything was fine. However, for the next 2 months, even if I just flushed the toilet with nothing having happened, it would stop up. I'd have to plunge it. So I called a week ago Monday, and a gentleman by the name of Orlando came out. He's new in this thing, and I said, Orlando, I'd like to explain, and this is important. I'd like to explain. This is what happened 2 months ago, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, obviously there's something wrong. So he took the toilet out, the whole thing out. There was an area of this long with tree roots. Now, they weren't in the middle. The router was fine. It had grown on the outside of the seal. So there's what the problem was. I have a picture of it. I showed it to Brad. The landscape people and the plumbing people are now aware of it, so now they're going to be doing different things. But tell the people when they come out what's going on. It'll save you a lot of time, save us having to send people 2 and 3 different times. Just a thought. Thank you.
I'd also like to add to Sharon ONeill's comment. We will be discussing bringing back the landscaping committee. We hear you. Judith.
I'd like to talk to Mary Wall. I am going to give a complete report on the M&V situation. I don't know if you're going to be here for that, but last month I also brought in a list about all the buses and the ones that we got on a grant. And the way that worked is we got them for 7 years. And so once an old bus reaches 7 years of service or 200,000 miles, then we're able to dump it and buy a new bus. That's the condition of the grants. And those old buses, they had a lot of problems. They weren't financially economical. They didn't get in and out of the cul-de-sacs. So these new buses, the 9-passenger buses, we're going to show a picture tomorrow, is the M&V meeting at 1:30 right here in this room, April 4th. If you come to that, we'll go into the budget a little bit more. Because in my report, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I don't want to give my whole report right now. But if you have any other questions, you know how to get a hold of me, and I'll give you. And on the 18th, I'm also going to mention is the transportation meeting at the towers. Every month on the third or fourth Wednesday, we have bus transportation information meetings, and they alternate between Clubhouse 1 and the towers. So Wednesday the 18th, it's going to be at the towers. So if you want to go to one of those, you get some extra information, and you get, all this good stuff. But tomorrow you'll find out what we're planning. I'll be talking about the agenda later in my meeting, in my minutes.
Diane.
I'll reply to Darlene Backus. Let's see. I'm not sure who you talked to or what 5 people you talked to, but the figures that I quoted came out of the audited financial statements and also the 2018 Green Book. Not the 2017 one, but the newer 2018 Green Book that came out, maybe 6 months ago, October or November of 2017. Let's see, you made a comment that we were billions of dollars underwater. I think for Unite, I can't say for the other mutuals definitively, but I think for us it's just over $70 million. I think with the others it would, to be fully funded, so it would be just over $200 million, I think, if you considered all the entities. And so I can't understand how we could be billions of dollars underwater. If to be fully funded, we'd only need to be somewhere around 200 or 250 million. And again, I agree with what Brad said. To have all that money sitting around doesn't make sense. And to have all that money sitting around means that all the members would have to pay a lot of money to get that much more money so that we could have it sitting around. And there are page numbers on the 2018 Green Book. I can't say if we maybe didn't used to do it or whatever, but I can say that now there are pages on the 2018 Green Book.
Tom.
Yes.
Okay, and this is the same for Darlene Backus. And the third mutual, where I was a director previously, they have, also in addition to their reserves, they took out an insurance policy for another $10 million their monthly rate was, or the annual rate for that premium was considerably lower because their reserves were so strong. In the past, it might have been $798,000, and now it might be $160,000. But to have that $10 million also, that would help that community. Of course, that wouldn't show up in our reserves. But if you go to the Finance Committee meetings of the Third and of the United, I'm sure you'll get some more clarification on all that. Thank you.
Diane.
I just wanted to add that the GRF has no loans, so we don't owe anybody any money. We had paid out, the last loan we had outstanding was for this building, so we're free of debt, long-term debt. And the other was that we're redoing the website, and so the original article that I wrote will be on the website, and a follow-up will be as well, probably, or hopefully by the end of the week. We're, like I say, we're just doing some changes to the website, so as soon as they can, they'll put it up.
Yeah.
Mike, all pages are numbered.
I
All
wanted to
pages are
speak in
numbered.
relation to, somebody else want to talk? It's okay. I wanted to speak in relation to what Chris Collins said about the foundation. And she listed off a number of activities that we're able to participate in this year due to funding. And I wanted to say a thank you to the Men's Golf Club tournament last year for $40,000 and say, hallelujah. Thank you for thinking that we can surpass that this year. So grateful for Neighbors Helping Neighbors. Thank you.
This is about the Laguna Woods Foundation and Chris Collins speaking. I wanted to know about the food websites, if they are on the Laguna Wood Foundation website with particulars for people to go to, or even family members to help out people that live here in the community. Is there a link, or is it on our website or something like that? Because that always helps people. Thank you.
It's 211. If you just call 211 on your phone, they'll give you a list of all the food places in the Orange County. Yeah.
Right, and if you'd like to have somebody talk with you about it, go to social services here on the other side of the elevators, first floor.
Joan?
I hope you're still here, Mary. Regarding the transportation, as we phase the buses out, I'm guessing, now this may not be the case, we might put in permanent routes for vans and have a different way of, because I agree, people don't all use dial phone or cell phones, and that's a problem. And having a bus floating around at a certain time somewhere in the village that they could count on all the time without having to call it in might be an advantage, something to think about for the future.
Any other board comments? Diane?
I would just make a quick comment that I think most of us here, or maybe all of us here, did not wish to see Joanne be off the board. It was just an automatic thing. So I just didn't know if that had been said.
Brad?
Yeah, I did. I just pulled up the business plan on our website. It's right here, all 179 pages, and they're all labeled. It's readily available along with all kinds of other information on our website, which will be much easier to access with our new drop-down menus.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Moving on to 11, consent calendar. There isn't anything on the consent calendar, so we'll move right to 12, unfinished business. Okay, we entertain a motion to approve relocation of the summer kids swim program. That's a 30-day notification ahead. Also, for the care services of the equestrian center,
You have to read
we have
those.
to entertain a motion for that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, first for the swim program.
A.
Relocation of summer kids swim, Resolution 90-18-XX. Whereas Clubhouse 2 Pool is the designated kids pool and offers extended kids swim hours in the summer. Whereas Clubhouse 2 Pool is shared by kids, lap swimmers, and recreational adult swimmers, creating a densely populated swimming environment which can be hazardous to all swimmers. And whereas Clubhouse 6 Pool is a summer pool operating from noon to 6 p.m., 7 days per week, allowing kids swim hours from noon to 4 p.m., 7 days a week from Memorial Day weekend to the first Sunday in October. Based on utilization reports, the pool is underutilized, yielding very few swimmers. Now therefore be it resolved, April 3rd, 2018, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the relocation of the summer kids swim from Clubhouse 2 to Clubhouse 6 during the summer pool hours of operation, May 26th through October 1st. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we accept this resolution.
Second? Do I get a second? Mr. Mattson? Discussion.
Since we moved them from
Point of
Clubhouse
order.
2
I'm
to pool.
Wait.
Point of order, Net. I'm sorry, Mr. President, can you place the motion on the table so we can then discuss it?
You need to say it again.
You need to repeat the motion before we can discuss it.
To entertain the motion to approve the relocation of the summer kids program?
Thank you.
All right?
Okay. Discussion.
Thank you. I'm all in favor of the summer kids swim, and I know that we've just moved it from Clubhouse 2 to the Clubhouse 6 pool. And that is a smaller pool, and then we kept the hours noon to 4 p.m. I was just wondering if it, and I know the pool's only open like till 6, I was wondering if the pool, that particular pool during this time could be noon to 6 p.m. for the children rather than just the 4 hours. Because I'm an early bird grandparent, but there's a lot of grandparents who don't really start shuffling until around noon, and then they could enjoy a few more hours with their grandkids. That was my only thought. I was just open for discussion first before I made an amendment. I should have made an amendment first? Okay. I would like to make an amendment that we extend the hours at Clubhouse 6 Pool Summer Swim from noon to 6 p.m. versus noon to 4 p.m. Thank you.
Second on the amendment? No second, it dies. So we go back to the original, entertain the original motion to approve the relocation of the summer kids swim program. Any further discussion? Beth?
This is a pilot program. We were looking at it at CAC because it's kind of dangerous in pool 2 with so much activity, and the adults like the what's it called? Lap swimming. You know what I mean? The lap swimming, and so removing the child's swim to pool 6, we're going to be observing that, seeing how it works. We'll be there. We'll check and see, and because it's a pilot program, I think we can bring it back to CAC and discuss it and maybe extend the hours if we see, that need and balance it out with our residents if they would like and just see how it goes. But this is a pilot.
With no further discussion, all in favor of the motion?
Wait, we have a request to speak on this item.
Oh, okay.
Maxine McIntosh?
Thank you, Maxine.
I hear the discussion, and I know that you're all thinking of children and how the children use the pool and so forth. But, this program originated, I think, at Clubhouse 2 many years ago when they still had a diving board. And then they moved it, Clubhouse 1, then they moved it to 2, because 2 is nowhere anybody can really walk. Everybody has to drive or take a bus, so they thought it was better to put the program over there. But to look at it from a different viewpoint, the grandparents and the great-grandparents who bring their children to use the pool. This is not a gift to the children. It's a gift, because I used that gift for many years, to the grandparents and the great-grandparents who moved here and no longer have a big fenced-in backyard, places outside near their home to entertain. And that's why there's a Grandparents' Day every year. And it's not called the Kiddies' Day. It's a gift to the grandparents that they can bring the children to this, and those children look forward to coming and spending time with them. It's the same thing with the swim program. Now, I'm not up to date the last 3 years, but up until then, we only ever heard of a small handful of people complaining about the children using that pool in the summertime during the early afternoon hours. A small handful. And after all, the people who would like to be swimming those laps, they have 3 other pools they can use. This is the only one designated for the grandchildren that has a diving board. But it's not a gift to those children. No one goes outside the village to invite children to come swim. It's a gift to the grandparents. And I think you'll find I don't know that a study's been done, but I think you'll find at least 20 adults who are card members of the community who bring the children to the pool in the afternoons. And they like the fact they can use that diving board. That's something different from any place else the children may have been swimming. And I don't recall ever that we had the report of a serious accident with the children there at Pool 2. Our serious accidents through the years in all the pools have been adult swimmers who have a heart attack or a stroke while they're swimming. So please think of it that way. What are we taking away from the grandparents and the great-grandparents? And the idea, very generous, by the way, of keeping the swimming going till 6 o'clock at Pool 6. Well, the last time I used Pool 6, which I admit was many years ago, there were a lot of people using it in the warmer hours of the afternoon. And so we need to be careful there that we're taking away all of their time. But I just hope you'll keep in mind that this is not for the children first. It's for grandma and grandpa and great-grandma and great-grandpa who are thrilled they can bring their grandchildren to this activity at Pool 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine.
Our next speaker is Mary Stone.
I wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Beth.
Because this is a pilot program, we can make changes as we go along. Brian Grinner is, I don't know what the title would be, but he is aquatic expert, and he's done a lot of things with pools and swimming. And we did research looking at the usage in Pool 2 and the usage in Pool 6, and we said, this seems like it would be a good idea. One of the things that wasn't, then there was a number of points of data that was involved, and one of the things was, if someone is swimming a lap in Pool 2 and the children are there and jump in on someone in a lap, that's not such a good idea, and that possibly could have happened. So we're looking at this as a trial to see what will work. And of course, it's number one for our citizens and for the pleasure that they have of bringing their grandchildren to the pool.
Mary?
Mary Stone, 356C. I was looking forward to taking my family for a swim at the Clubhouse 2 pool this summer because I was looking forward to having a picnic at the new park area that we are supposed to be putting in that area. And that is kind of not going to be what's going to happen if we go to Clubhouse 6. There's no nice view there. There's no area for picnicking. There's no thought of a snack wagon where we can buy hot dogs. To move it to Clubhouse 6, to me, maybe the numbers show it, but there are times where numbers don't matter, and you have to think of who's going to be using it, how are you going to be using it, and how can you make it better?
Thank you. Diane?
I just want to say, I understood there were no more diving boards in the village. So that I do not believe, I think Clubhouse 2 does not have a diving board. I could be wrong, but.
No, we removed it.
It's been removed.
It's been removed.
Oh, yes. Okay, without any other discussion, the amendment is on the floor. All in favor? The motion is on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Mr. Juhan?
Yeah, I vote yes.
Thank you. It carries. Motion carries. Okay, item B, 12B, entertain a motion to approve a resolution for care services for the equestrian center boarders. Please read the motion.
Please take the extra sheet you have, because this is a more clear, it's clearer. This is an updated motion, version of the motion. It's the same thing, but makes it clear that the service is for the horses and not the boarders. I mean, for the boarders who are the horses. Okay? All right, anyway. Resolution 9018XX, care services for equestrian center boarders, horses. Whereas the GRF equestrian facility includes 27 stalls that have been made available for residents to board their personally owned horses, with the residents being responsible for rental and feed costs. And whereas staff has been requested, if there is no one else available, to offer a horse care program for residents' horses when the residents are sick or out of town for a short period of time. And whereas the new care program would be performed by VMS staff approximately 45 minutes per day per horse for resident or horse owners who are sick or out of town. And whereas all services shall be performed by the equestrian supervisor or stable assistant between the hours of 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Now therefore be it resolved, April 3rd, 2018, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts a new horse care service program for resident horse owners who are sick or out of town for $35 per day to cover costs to be charged to the resident, and resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Beth, second. Discussion. With no further discussion, all in favor of the motion?
Jim.
Jim? All in favor of the motion? Mr. Juhan?
Yes, I say yes.
Okay. Unanimous.
Yes, I say
Okay, now, I think he wants to be in the next point, is that correct?
Yes.
Brad? Yes. Okay, 13, new business. Item A, Brad wanted to address.
Yeah, actually, you've already done this as a referral from your M&C committee.
Yes.
I think what the purpose here was, though it wasn't very well executed, was to just demonstrate that we followed your instruction, went back to CAC, and they're on the same page as the M&C. So I don't think there's any action you need to take on this item. Just know that we followed your direction, we went to the CAC, and they're of like mind with M&C.
I agree.
No resolution.
No resolution, okay. 13B, entertain a motion. There's no resolution.
But I waited because you had it on the agenda. I just wanted to make a correction. I think what your plan is wonderful. The first on page 13A, page 3 of 10, where it says under background, the second paragraph, on June 23rd, 2014, the board approved and so forth was $600,000. Maybe that was 2015. I was on the board then, and we were dismantling the recreation master plan. We just had, remember, 5 people dropped out of GRF at that time. They just barely escaped being recalled. And we were having all these corporate member meetings trying to handle and untangle this tangle. So you might want to check. I'm sure that wasn't June. Sharon ONeill was elected to fill one of those empty spots that spring, and she was chairman of M&C. So, and I think,
That's okay.
yeah,
Yes.
the Community Activities Committee as well. So I just think it's a mistaken date.
I agree.
Thank you.
It should have been 15.
It's 15.
It's in the budget. Are we talking about the original 600? I think it was in the 2015 budget, which we approved in 14.
Okay.
That's why it's 14.
Thank you, Maxine.
It isn't, okay.
Okay.
That's correct as it is.
All right, then we will go to 13B. Entertain a motion to approve the designation of the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods Village to maintain the Bluebird boxes within GRF common area. Please read the motion.
Resolution 90-18-XX Bluebird Box Replacement. Whereas approximately 1,100 bird boxes were erected and left unattended and are inhabited by insects and various invasive species, which cause the nest boxes to be unwelcoming for bluebirds. And whereas many of the boxes were damaged have damaged the limbs of the trees as growth around the wire caused strangulation, and if left unattended will restrict all growth above the constricted part. And whereas the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods Village is currently in the process of removing deteriorated nest boxes and replacing with suitable bluebird boxes, now therefore be it resolved April 3rd, 2018, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby designates the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods Village to be the sole club to maintain all bluebird boxes within the Golden Rain Foundation common area. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we accept this resolution.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Beth, any discussion? Joan?
I think, okay, I have an amendment, and that is that we need to name GRF near the beginning. So where it says, whereas 1,100 bird boxes were erected and left unattended in the GRF common areas, we need somehow to get that in there.
That's true. Not true.
Well, then, okay.
Go back to the staff report. They're in United on 3rd also.
Okay, I'm sorry.
In the last 30 years.
And on the staff report, it should be 1,100, not 11,000. Okay, I'm going to withdraw my motion, my amendment, never mind. I'll just withdraw it.
Okay, further discussion on the resolution? Yes, Diane?
It was my understanding that he is not in the process of doing it, but that it's not that he is currently in the process of removing, but he has removed the boxes already. So so I think that the work has already been done.
Beth?
He did start removing boxes, and it came to the attention of folks who were Audubon members, and the Audubon Club has been disbanded, but they are still very vigilant in their work and their passion. And they have been attending, a number of them are monitors and have monitored bluebird boxes throughout the mutuals. And what our recommendation was, or is that GRF property is maintained by this particular Danny, I can't remember Danny's last name, Bluebird Man, and he will be in charge of all GRF property bluebird boxes. He'll take down the ones that need to be taken down. He will put them in the special distance apart. He will do his best to do a good job for the bluebird boxes in our common area. And the folks who, the discussion with the folks who had been related to and are still passionate through the Audubon Society is that they will go to the housing mutuals, they'll go to the United meeting and to the 3rd meeting and discuss it and come up with the solution that each of those boards will have for their property and how they will maintain their bluebird boxes in that property.
Okay, so we're not going to change the first paragraph and put GRF in that first paragraph as well?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, because that would help me vote in favor of this.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Because otherwise I was not going to.
So we need an amendment.
Okay, I'd like to amend
How about
the
the
Bluebird
third
Bach replacement resolution to include on the first whereas approximately 1,100 bluebird boxes in GRF common areas.
But they're not, that's the problem.
Is that the problem?
How about on the 3rd paragraph? Whereas the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods Village is currently in the process of removing deteriorated nest boxes in GRF common area
That's
and
good.
replacing them. How
Okay.
about down there?
Okay, that's the amendment. Do
I
I
like
get a
that.
second for the
I'll
amendment?
second that then, okay.
Any discussion on the amendment?
I think it's a great idea.
All in favor of the amendment? Now, we need to read the amended resolution.
Okay, shall I read? I'll read it all. Approximately 1,100 bird boxes were, whereas approximately 1,100 bird boxes were erected and left unattended and are inhabited by insects and various invasive species, which cause the nest boxes to be unwelcoming for bluebirds. And whereas many of the boxes have damaged the limbs of trees, its growth around the wire cause strangulation, and it, if left unattended, will restrict all growth above the constricted part. And whereas the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods Village is currently in the process of removing deteriorated nest boxes in the GRF common areas and replacing with suitable bluebird houses. Now therefore be it resolved, April 3rd, 2018, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby designates the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods Village to be the sole club to maintain all bluebird boxes within Golden Rain Foundation common area, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution.
Do you so move?
I have a further amendment. Can I make, okay. I'd like to further amend this. Now, we have to vote on it.
We have to.
We have voted on it. Okay, now, I'd like to make another amendment. In the very first sentence, it says approximately 1,100 boxes were erected, and that's throughout the village, is it not? And I would say that that should say, I move to amend line 1. So it says, whereas approximately 1,100 bird boxes were erected and left unattended, and inhabited and so on throughout Laguna Woods Village. Where would we put that? Where's the best place?
After unattended.
And left after unattended.
Can we say many were left unattended? Because some people feel like they have attended. Right.
Should we say many? Well, maybe we just, okay, okay, what if we said, okay, I'm just still revising. Approximately 1,100 bird boxes were erected throughout the village, and many were left unattended and are inhabited. Would that be a better way of saying it? So let's try it again. Here's the amendment. Approximately 1,100 bird boxes were erected throughout Laguna Woods Village, and many. Do you want some or many? Okay, I'm going to say many. Oh, many were left unattended and are, and the rest of the paragraph is the same. So I move that amendment.
I have a second on that amendment. Any discussion on that amendment? Without, all in favor of that amendment? Opposed? Jim?
Jim, are you there?
Are you there, Jim?
Yes, I am. I vote yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So
Okay.
since all of the amendments have been approved, do I need to read the whole thing again?
No.
All right. So do you all understand what the amendments are? And we don't have to read it again? Is the audience okay with that?
Any other discussion on the resolution? Mr. Shetler?
Juanita has something.
And then Juanita.
Jeff Shetler, 2074G. Just a comment, maybe a question here. The last meeting, there was discussion on when the bluebird boxes were going to be attended, if they were going to be attended on the golf course. I heard discussion of a couple of things. One, when is the appropriate time to do that? And two, there was another discussion about some type of tours going along where people could view the boxes or talk about that.
No.
So that's out.
Yeah, that's
The
not.
But the issue on when they're attended to, specifically on the 18-hole golf course, and if there are any on the par 3 golf course, with respect to the I'm sorry, the 3 9-hole golf courses, one of those courses is closed on a Thursday, each Thursday of the week. And I would strongly encourage, and I'm not sure if you need to put it in a resolution or just have the understanding with whoever is doing the job.
Yeah, we'll.
Good point.
That they do it on the day that course is closed for safety reasons. But also they call ahead when that course is closed because it's closed to the public, but it's not necessarily closed to everyone. That course, the closed course is sometimes used for playing lessons from our club professionals, and it's also used from the high school teams, golf teams. They're using it. So if somebody's going to be doing that, number one, I'd recommend they call ahead, do it on a Thursday that the course is closed, and make sure nobody's there.
We will direct.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Jeff's.
yeah. Danny, you want to step up and answer that? You can follow those. Is that doable?
Hi, Danny Henson, the current president and coordinator of the Bluebird Club. We have to go out weekly, and since every third week a course is closed, we'd have to be skipping 3 weeks. The bluebirds have already been hatched and grown in that time. We'd have missed our entire monitoring of some of the boxes. The way we've been doing it for the last 2.5 years and this year, notify the golf course, I go in and check with, I go out, I follow a group behind them so they can't hit us. They hit their ball, I move my next box and move on around. I'm a golfer, I've been golfing since 14. I've never been hit by a golf ball or even come close doing it in the golf cart. We're on the perimeter. So I have no problem with the way it's going currently.
Okay,
Because it works.
thank you.
So I have a question. Are we signing an agreement with him? Is there any kind of agreement in
written-
writing for
no.
liability purposes? Okay.
The liability issue was addressed already by
Was
Dan.
addressed by staff.
Yeah, I know. I just wondered if the next step was to have an agreement with him in case there were a problem. No. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the CAC meeting, but one other thing that came up was we had talked about using a VMS employee, and somewhere along our discussion, so we're not doing that at all. Okay, that's fine, because that would be additional cost and membership. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right,
President Circle,
Any-
we have other requests to speak on this
Oh.
item.
please do. Who's next?
Judy Rizzo.
Judy?
Hi, Judy Rizzo, 468D. I'm here on behalf of Audubon, although we are no longer in existence. But I did have some questions when I read the resolution. Number one, we are happy that Danny is going to be doing this, monitoring these boxes on GRF property. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But what I'm questioning is, how many boxes are there? This is a curiosity question. How many are there on GRF property? Are there hundreds or 10 boxes or what? I have no idea. Will there be funding for him to replace these boxes? Where will the money come from? I know one of the thoughts was that this tour would bring in some cash to pay for it, but now I don't know where that's going to come from. The second is, how big is his organization? Is he doing it single-handedly, or does he have a group that's doing it? And lastly, some of the research facts, I think, were his research facts, and I'm not going to dispute them, but they were self-serving so that he could have this position. But I'm wondering how many boxes were taken off, how many were damaged, and how are they going to be replaced? But the big question that has nothing to do with the resolution, but many members are wondering this: who is going to replace the boxes on Third or United that were taken out, and how many were there? So I think, that doesn't, you're going to hate these bluebirds by the time we get done here probably, but that's a big question. Is there going to be any replacement of those boxes? So.
Well, as far as Third and United are concerned, that's up to their board.
Right.
Okay, we can't answer that.
I know.
In the staff report, It indicates how many boxes, what, 615, I think?
615.
615.
We're-
Only 75 replaced.
Right.
75 have been replaced
Oh.
so far.
It's in the staff report in our
Okay.
package.
And I do have one, I just remembered one other concern about the trees being damaged by boxes. How many were there? I'm afraid that this might bring some kind of a bell to, say, landscaping. If we go before landscaping, say, well, we've got members who are going to be hanging boxes, and is this going to be a problem? So I'm questioning how many trees were actually damaged by these boxes. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank
Any other comments from residents?
I have Earl Garrison.
Earl?
Yeah,
Hmm?
if Danny answered her, Judy just spoke, and he would have answers.
I'm a former member
I don't
of
think we need to answer.
Laguna Woods Village. I currently reside outside, but I'm still deeply interested in the bird
You can't
activity
speak.
here since I was actively involved in it for many years.
Are you, excuse me, Earl, are you a current resident of Laguna Woods?
I have property here,
Okay.
so I was given permission to
Okay,
speak.
thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, that's another reason why I'm deeply interested. I have many friends here who are still involved in the bird program. What I'm concerned about is this resolution that gives Danny Henson the exclusive right to manage the birds. Danny has done some things which I believe are contrary to good bird practices. Namely, he destroyed many boxes that were actively maintained by people in the residence. He antagonized many people because he did this without any contact from them, with them. And in my estimation, as an experienced birder, I believe Danny has done some serious damage to the Laguna Woods bird program. And I seriously question whether he should be in charge of a club here. I don't question there being a club. They're missing a club because of the Audubon Club, who supported it, doesn't exist anymore, to my understanding. So there is a need for a club, but I'm wondering where he's going to get members to join it, because he has antagonized so many people in the community. And another thing I'm wondering, just how much of an area is considered GRF property. You know, these boxes were hung without regard to who manages the property. They're all over the community. The program was started in the 1980s, early 1980s, by Manny Ackerman. And for a fee of, or a voluntary contribution to Audubon Club, Manny would hang a box wherever the resident desired. And therefore, you do have many more boxes probably than are needed for good bird habitat. But that doesn't matter. The birds know more than we do where they want to nest. God gives them that understanding. And anyway, Manny's action to remove surplus boxes, is contrary to birding practices needed for Laguna Village Village. I'm personally angered at Danny, because recently I found all the boxes that were in the area from gate 5 to gate 6 were gone. And I had intended to come back and maintain them. And then I found they weren't there anymore. And this is typically what he's done throughout the community. And so I sincerely question his actions, and I think he should be reprimanded for that, and even for stealing stealing boxes, because people paid for those boxes to be hung. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And if you want any more information about this, I'm in the process of writing a history of what's happened with the birds. I haven't completed it yet, but I'd be glad to meet with anyone who's interested in that history.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Juanita Skillman.
Juanita Skillman, 2154B. I'm a member of the CAC, and this came up before, and there were many questions that were asked that weren't answered. I have a real problem, and I'm against this resolution the way it is written. The 1,100 boxes are, and you did change that to the community, but it still is very exclusive, and you don't say all, no, there. Even many makes it sound like there were much more than there were. Now, in your staff report, it points out that there were 615 boxes that he took out of GRF common area, but only 75 were put back in again. I also question many of the boxes have damaged the limbs. How many? Landscape department cannot give me any kind of figures that says, yes, this is a common problem. And mostly I don't like him to be the sole club to maintain these bluebird boxes when there are other groups who are actively doing that right now. Yes, the Audubon Club within Laguna Village disbanded, but the Audubon Society for Southern California is very active, and they do monitor the boxes and have people that monitor the boxes. There's also a second organization, and it's SCBC, and I'm not sure if it's South Coast or Southern California Bluebird Club, and they also have people here that monitor and work with the boxes, and some of those were the ones, as our last speaker said, who were absolutely dismayed when they looked out their window and found their box had been taken away with no prior knowledge, whatever. Now, I know that's mostly a mutual issue, and I just wanted to let everybody know we will be discussing this at the United Landscape meeting, which is on Wednesday, April 25th at 1 p.m. of all of those that are within the mutual.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mattson?
I had known Earl Garrison here over 10 years, and I'm asking if we can move this to maybe this afternoon and talk about it.
Okay.
I was at the CAC meeting, and we talked for hours and hours about this, I think. I mean, it was a couple of hours. The thing is that the Audubon Society was in charge, or was watching the boxes, was monitoring the boxes, and was putting up new boxes, taking down bad boxes. But they are no longer a club. They just don't exist. And so this isn't giving Danny, this is giving this club the ability. They're replacing the club that was dissolved, so that there just is a club. So if people from the Audubon Society or from the Southern California Bluebird Club that are outside of the woods, if there are people that are inside that are interested, I believe they're welcome to join the club. If they don't like Danny and what he's doing, they're allowed to vote him out. But that at this point, we have no one for, I don't know the period of time, I don't know when the Audubon Club went out, but that there was a period of time where at least some of the boxes, perhaps many of the boxes, were not being attended to. And so I don't, like I say, it's not just one person that we're giving this ability to. And this is just, so if people want to coordinate and join the club, I think they have the ability to do that.
Judith, you're next.
Yes, I was going to say, I agree with Juanita. In addition to that, I have 3 emails on this subject alone that have complaints, and I know you guys discussed it a lot, and I was not at your meeting, but I still have reservations, so for that reason, I'll be voting against the resolution.
But most of those people were within by their house. So a lot of the
Correct.
big problems are on United property and Third Mutual property as opposed to
GRF boxes,
property.
I understand that.
Ray?
Just a thought, they were talking about the trees being destroyed because of the manners in which they're hung. Perhaps we could eliminate the wiring, which kills it, and maybe utilize a strap system or something along this line. That way it will not destroy the trees, and it'll still be strong enough to hold the bird nest up in, just a thought. What do I know?
Yes.
The shepherd's hook has been in use since Earl's been here that I know of. So they've already been replaced. There are still boxes placed before 2008, still wrapped up strangulating limbs, causing some damage. The numbers, who knows? The numbers of boxes are not being correctly given out. In GRF is what we're addressing now. What's going to happen in the other mutuals? 2 years ago when I first took over, is actually 2015, and began removing boxes. That was in the United area. The recent removal of the boxes in Third, I have Earl's boxes, numbered, listed. Of the 4 boxes he had active bluebirds in, the other 17, or the total of 17, 13 had no boxes. I had already relocated and hung boxes of ours where no one knows where they are probably, but they're there. We actually have several times as many bluebirds now as we ever had, multiples. And we're doing it with, instead of 900 boxes, less than 70. The other boxes are just trash to me. We replaced them, they cost us $5. We have a lifter on a hook that was invented by one of us in our club. It's not just me, folks. The bluebirds are thriving like never before here. This is not an ideal setting in an urban environment. The people have no strategy to exit and remove when they leave to turn in equipment boxes. They're just left. I live here too. I look around and walk and see this mess. I open boxes. You've heard me talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want this to turn into a,
We have one more request.
we've discussed it over and over. One last,
We have one more.
Beth, go ahead.
The CAC meeting on this was a wonderful meeting in that there were 2 sides that really brought their ideas forth, the Audubon people and the Bluebird Club people. And we discussed it and discussed it. And the goal was, I'm sure for each of those clubs and for everyone on that committee, that we come to the best possible solution for all. I'm hearing lots of different pieces that maybe we could have addressed or would have addressed or whatever. And hopefully, they, one by one, as the problems come up, we can ameliorate them throughout time. But the truth of the matter is, I was really proud of that committee for working so hard to try to hear everyone and try to come to a position that would be a fair position for all sides.
One last speaker. Who is it?
Dick Rader.
Dick Rader, 270D. I'm speaking as an individual. You have a number of questions that were asked, but you don't have answers to them. You were asked how many trees were damaged. It was brought out that the replacement, I wish I'd brought the documentation that I have on my desk. But part of the documentation is here. What has been done is a lot of bluebird boxes have been removed. And it says here in the resolution that the club, the Western Bluebird Club, is currently in the process of removing deteriorated nest boxes and replacing with suitable bluebird boxes. What that implies is that there'll be 100% replacement. Danny provides some figures. Some of the figures are here, and then there's some other figures I have on my desk. It comes out to about a 10% replacement that he's done. So he removes 90%, replaces with 10% boxes. He tells you that he's going to, he has money for this. And he says that the boxes cost $5. First of all, they're replaced with cedar wood, which, by the way, I laud him for that because the cedar wood is much better. But I wonder if he has anybody that's going to do this for him, because apparently, if you guys don't, I think, receive all the emails, but apparently he doesn't have any support in the woodworking area where they were doing the boxes for him for free labor. So you have a situation where he may not have money enough. He also has non-standard criteria that is not recognized by the Audubon Society, because I spoke with them. I, again, wish I had the letter that he wrote to the Globe, and in it, I'll paraphrase it. He says he uses the total area, square acreage or something, to determine how many boxes should be placed. That's not standard. What they do is they place them a certain number of feet apart. Non-standard is, he stated that in the letter, that he determines the amount of feed that's available. That is the amount of insects. Who can predict one season to another how many insects? The point of the matter is that the whole idea of the bluebird box is not just for bluebirding, it's for preservation and maintenance of the bluebird population. And with his non-standard techniques, with his about 10% replacement, you're giving a person the right to do this. And I say a person because I don't think you've delved enough into the club to determine whether it's an active club or whether he went around and got some people to sign their names. I don't think you know that at all. And I suggest that you might want to find out how often his club meets, how active the members are, because I think it was mentioned that he's doing this as a personal thing. So I'll just sum up. I have no problem with him monitoring boxes, but it says here you're making that club the sole
On GRF
person, the sole one.
within GRF common area.
No,
Correct.
I understand that, but the
Correct.
sole one, that's what the
Correct.
problem is here.
The club is.
I just pointed out something to you that you may want to investigate.
We did at CAC thoroughly. Did we
And
not,
there were
Diane?
people at CAC, there were other people from the club that were there, and one woman in particular.
It was
I remember
one
spoke.
woman
I
and
think
him.
this isn't a dialogue.
No, I understand, it was one woman.
Are you,
That's
You've had your say.
so it's not, right.
Finish, Diane. Finish what you're.
No, I was just, what I was saying was that there is a club, we are giving it to the club, more people can join the club. Without this club coordinating, there will be no club coordinating. So it's not like we're replacing one for another. Currently, there is no one in terms of no club, no organized club.
Okay, with no further discussion, all in favor of the resolution, raise your hand.
I vote yes.
Opposed? 3. It carries. Okay. Moving on. Moving on to item 14, committee reports. Before the committee reports, I got a note from Sharon ONeill. We will be answering your questions. Trust me, I will direct staff to answer your question. Okay, committee reports. The finance report, Diane Phelps.
Okay, first I'll cue the slides and start off with a review of the February 28th, 2018 preliminary financial statements. I'm just waiting for them to pop up. There we go. Okay. So slide 1, through the end of February, total revenue for GRF was $6,917,000 compared to expenses of $6,316,000, resulting in net revenue of $601,000. We move on to slide 2. This chart shows activity in operations separate from reserves and contingency fund activity. After backing out depreciation, which is not funded through operations, we had an operating surplus of $498,000 through the end of February. When comparing these results to budget, GRF operations were better than budget by $38,000. Slide 3. This slide shows where there was the most significant variance between actual results and the amount budgeted. On the expense side, the expenses where we saw the most favorable variances were materials and supplies, utilities, and professional fees, and these were all due to timing. And then the most significant unfavorable variance was the trust facility fee. Because escrows closing in the first quarter of 2018 are mostly from escrows that were opened in 2017 when the trust facilities fee was $2,500. Escrows opening after January 1st will reflect the increased fee of $5,000. On slide 4, this is a pie chart where we show the non-assessment revenues received to date of almost $1.9 million by category. Our largest revenue generator was broadband services, followed by the trust facilities fee, golf operations, and so on. All of these non-assessment revenues help keep our assessments down. Slide 5. Expenses to date of $6.3 million are shown here on a pie chart by category, the largest categories being compensation, depreciation, cable TV, and insurance, professional, and legal combined. Inadvertently left off the schedule was utilities and telephone expense, which represents 4% of total expenses. And last but not least is slide 6, the reserve and contingency fund balances. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds show a combined balance of $37,135,000 as of the end of February, and this included in this total is $908,000 of additions to reserves to date from assessments, trust facilities fee, and interest. The second column shows the work in progress of $5,489,000, which are funds that have been spent to date on projects that are still in progress. The third column shows the remaining appropriations of $14,056,000, which are funds that have been appropriated by the board but have not yet been spent. So after subtracting from column 1 the work in progress, which is column 2, and the outstanding expenditures, which is column 3, then we can see in column 4 what the unencumbered balances of the funds are. And that is $17,590,000, which is well above our threshold of $6.8 million. That's it for the slides. I'll mention that I am working with finance to change the slides around a bit so that we actually will show you the operating budget separate from the reserves portion. I think that might make it a little clearer for people, because the way we do it, we mix them together, or take them apart and mix them back together again. Okay, so, but that is for it for the slides. But for those of you who want more detail, I remind you that it is in the GRF Finance Committee meeting agenda packets, and they are available online and also at GRF Finance Committee meetings. We didn't have a GRF Finance Committee meeting in March, but the treasurers from GRF, United Third, and Mutual 50 did meet to discuss mutual issues and concerns. Also in March, the Select Audit Task Force met a number of times during the month with KPMG regarding the audit. On March 29th, the Select Audit Task Force had It was an open meeting, but what it was it was the closing of the audit. It was the closing meeting in which KPMG presented the audited financial statements to GRF, United, and Third. With minor change in wording, the audited financial statements were accepted by each of the boards. And in order to save on mailing costs, an abridged version will be mailed to all members shortly, as is required. And there will be a full version available online. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the reason Mutual 50 wasn't included is that their board handles their audit separately. I've mentioned that there will be an additional article that will be on the website addressing some of the questions raised in last week's Globe about our reserves. And the only other thing I have is that the next scheduled finance meeting is Wednesday, April 18th at 1:30 in the boardroom. That's it for me.
Thank you, Diane. Report of the Community Activities Committee, Director Parrott.
We had a long talk about the Bluebird boxes at the CAC committee meeting. I don't think I need to reiterate that for you. A couple of things about upcoming events were discussed. The Village Bazaar is this Saturday in Clubhouse 5, April 7th. Village Games begin on April 8th. April 19th, the U.S. Golf Association is coming to host a rules change seminar here in Laguna Woods Village. We have a new committee working with the Recreation Department, members of our staff. And it's an events planning committee, and they are tasked with looking at upcoming events and planning new and interesting things to be happening in the village. Mr. Gruner stated that we have now in place the Laguna Woods Village Armed Forces Adoption Committee, and this is the first Marine Regiment, and it's been created and is currently meeting to begin fundraising and volunteering. These Marines will be attending some of our events upon invitation from us. A motion was made to approve this Village Armed Forces Adoption Committee, and it was approved by the CAC committee. Thrive was introduced and talked about, and I think I'll be doing a little bit of talking about Thrive when it's media and communication time. A motion was made, the Bluebird, that was the Bluebirds. The next one is the redevelopment of the pickleball court, and that has gone back to us, and CHC recommended that it go back, approved it, and recommended that it goes back. There was, in our bylaws, a rule stated that executive club officers must be a resident of Laguna Woods Village. And we voted and changed that for our policies to read that one officer must be a resident member. And just to be sure that there is a resident member that is on that executive committee, but folks who are renting or leasing property also could be on that executive board. A motion was made to approve a decorative art wall committee, and that was further discussed in the Thrive meeting, and I can tell you now that that's a wall over by Clubhouse 4, and in the Thrive committee, when we discussed it, we came up with Cindy Whitney has had experience in developing murals on walls, and she is in charge of that committee, and she will be getting all the creative and artistic people together to work on that. Here's a big one that I hope that people are listening. The deadline for clubs to submit their budgets for 2019 to the Recreation Department, they must submit them by April 15th. Good date, easy one to remember, right? Tax day. If you have a budget request for your club, then you need to submit it by the 15th of April. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I do have one more thing.
One more thing, go ahead.
Okay, one more thing. I brought a little audio visual. There was a woman who came to the podium during members' speak time, and she talked about the online recreation ideas going on. Know, please, that each month there's a recreation events bulletin that you can get in the recreation department or in the clubhouses, and it's really clear of all the events at each day during the month. You will be hearing more and more and more about this. We talked about it here and at the Thrive meeting, the Laguna Woods Village Tree Walk Guide that we're going to be having. Got tree walks throughout the village, and all of us who live here know that we have just beautiful, beautiful trees in a huge variety. Big deal coming up, the bazaar, Saturday, Clubhouse 5, and the Senior Summit, Brad mentioned that will be happening on Friday, April 20th, but you must RSVP for that by April 13th. And there are brochures in the clubhouses with a phone number with which to call. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Maintenance Construction, Director Mattson.
I just have a couple things here, I think that have been covered by other people. Start with the pickleball and paddle tennis court. Bids will be
Microphone,
pickleball and paddle tennis, I'll say a little bit about that right now. This Friday, the bids are due from the various contractors, and staff will be analyzing the bids and making a recommendation to the M&C committee at our next meeting, which is right now, it's going to be next Wednesday, the 11th. Energy consultant proposals have been received by staff, and they're in the process of evaluating them, and they're due to make a presentation for a special meeting for us next Thursday, the 12th. Also, I want to say, and Beth is going to make a presentation on your PAC, but the last thing I have is last Saturday, I went over to the lawn bowling area, and there was a whole bunch of people there, probably I'd say at least 50 people, enjoying themselves with lawn bowling, and I've talked with a few people, one of the key people, and they just love it, and are so appreciative that GRF spent the money to get a group in here that's qualified for redoing the surface of a lawn bowling type thing. So they're super happy, and so had a nice big meal there and everything, and so everyone's super happy. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Pat, Beth?
This time I'm happy to report that we did have a meeting, the ad hoc committee for the Performing Arts Center, and the reason being because the architects came back with the design plan to share with us. They took into consideration all of the different groups that came and gave their opinion, all the groups that use on a continuous basis our Performing Arts Center, and they brought their ideas and their needs, and they addressed each and every one of them. So on March 23rd, the PAC renovation project team presented the comprehensive results and work product of the design development effort. The presentation included a complete vision for the renovation improvements for the PAC and addressed all of the community input gathered during the 12-month-long process, every bit of it. Preliminary funding was discussed with the ad hoc committee, and further discussions relative to the path forward and other capital priorities will be discussed today during the GRF closed session. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
One more.
Oh, Judith, excuse me.
Under M&C, I have an Energy Committee report I was told I can give, and I asked that that be put on the agenda, but it got missed. The Third Energy Committee met on March 7th. The committee has 4 advisors, 2 are GRF advisors and 2 are United advisors, but we are non-voting advisors. Discussion and consideration went on about forming a community or combined village energy committee. According to our bylaws, advisors are non-voting. So right now, the United and GRF representatives are non-voting advisors, which makes a big impact on the say that GRF or United has on energy throughout any GRF facilities. Just to stay in compliance with our bylaws, we need, hoping everybody, all the boards, agree to have this combined committee. Ernesto is now in the process of finding out just how we will go about that process. VMS has, like Jim says, has already hired a community consultant, energy consultant, to analyze the entire village and evaluate our needs for increased savings, energy savings projects throughout the community, and energy saving ideas that will bring us both into the future while keeping us compliant with state and federal demands on energy. At the next meeting, each mutual plus GRF is asked to come with a prioritized list of energy projects that we want. United's, well, Juanita was asked to do that. And so I'm hoping that we can, our next meeting is May 2nd, and I'm hoping we could come up with a list before then. Our GRF meeting is on the 1st, so maybe if we can throw that on the agenda and together come up with the list we want to bring to the third energy meeting, which is eventually going to become a community combined meeting. And that's all I have. So the next energy, third energy committee is going to be May 2nd, 1:30 in the Cypress Room. Thank you.
Yeah, we already said we would participate in a village-wide energy committee.
Right, and we'll be voting on it
So I
once
think we should put that
on the agenda.
on the agenda like you
Thank you.
suggested. Okay. Next, Media and Communications Committee, Director Millman.
Yes, we met Wednesday, March 14th, and the usual reports on media. First of all, first thing was a request by the nearby Lutheran Church to join our broadband, and I didn't realize it, but we also have other commercial groups that do hook on. If they're close to a node, they can get on for free, and we do accommodate them. So Chuck is going to look into that and see if we can get the Lutheran Church involved with our broadband. It's free to us, but they're paying for it. Okay, they pay for their part, but they pay less than they would normally pay. So it's to their advantage and our good neighborship too. Broadband update, Chuck says that subscriber counts are up. Every month they go higher and higher. People are very excited about what's going on. He mentioned the analog conversion, which Brad has mentioned, April 9th. A lot of channels are being deleted on the analog version, but if you have, you can still get the channels just by getting a box, or if you have a DVR, there's no problem. But if you just plug into the wall and you've got a smart TV, you still need a little box to get the digital version. Chuck is working with contract renewals. That's always a big expense to us, but well worth it. He gave a report on the budgeted 10% for NBC Universal after a 3-year term expires. And so NBC is a big conglomerate. It's more than just NBC. It's several stations, and it's quite expensive, but we don't give it up. There was a review of the Broadband Village Television and Media 55 logos, and we're very favorably impressed with the logos that were finally developed. They're really well branded. They go with all of the village logos now, and I think you'll be quite pleased when you see them. They will come up again at our next meeting, and so you'll see them then. Heather Rasmussen reported on the fact that our Facebook sections are being used more and more, and people get very interested more and more in Facebook. I'm not a fan, but a lot of people are, and it's a good way to get the village out. Beth had mentioned under Thrive that the tree walk is something that's going to be very interesting. There are 3 of those walks coming up, and Pat Wilkinson and Kathy Bryans have been very much involved in that whole thing. This is Beth. I'm going to let her tell you about it. We are also, Thrive is also going to be working with Brian Gruner and Clubhouse 4 on the wall. Beth, I'm just on Thrive now. So I mentioned the tree walk and the wall, but why don't you fill us in a little bit more if you can?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. We mentioned the tree walk earlier, and that's something that's brand new. We're working on man-on-the-street interviews for Thrive. We thought that would be a really good idea. Don't forget the Thrive show is at 9:30 on Village TV on Thursday morning, and I will be on that show. It was. I'm not one to really enjoy being a TV personality, but I've had the privilege of being interviewed for Thrive this Thursday, and we're beginning to put together a documentary regarding Thrive, the website and Facebook image of Thrive is expanding and growing. We're becoming more and more aware. What our goal is to reach out into the community to everyone in the community to be able to help them in this journey of thriving in this chapter in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. The other thing I want to mention is docent tours. Media and Communications is going to be kind of taking over guidance for those tours through Becky Jackson, where they've been very successful, and we simply want to make them a little more uniform. And I see Eileen's back there. Maybe you want to say something about the docent tours since you're here.
Consistent.
Well, starting Friday, we're going to be running them out of marketing and communications. And we have been successfully meeting with about 2/3 of our existing docents. Because one of the issues that we find is things have changed so much here in the community. A lot of our docents have been doing these tours for a long time, and their information is outdated. So this, we put together a system so that their scripts are updated. We are providing them with laminated cards, sort of like flip cards, to make sure that they're covering some of the key points and that the information that they're giving is correct. Because as we heard in the first report today, there's just so many changes, and a lot of times I don't know about them. We're also hoping to shave them down just a little bit. They're running close to 3 hours. That's a lot of time. So it also gives us a chance to coordinate our handouts. We found that new residents were being given the same handouts. The docent tour, we have people saying to us, oh, this is the 4th time I've been handed this. So let's be a little better with that.
Great, thank you, thank you. Are there any questions? No, okay. That's it for me, except next time we're going to be talking about welcome packets and checking a little bit more on the Lutheran Church access, see what Chuck found for the follow-up, and docent tours. New resident orientation video is being revised, and that will come up next month, and the logos will get their final look at. So our next meeting will be April 16th here in the boardroom at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you. Report of Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Troutman.
Okay, I'm sorry Mary Wall left. There was no meeting in March. However, our next meeting is tomorrow, Wednesday, right here in this room, the boardroom, at 1:30. On April 18th is a transportation and information meeting at the Towers upstairs at 1 p.m. What's the name of that room? Ida, do you remember? Is in the transportation, do they have it downstairs now? Lordster Hall? Okay. Okay, so go to the concierge's desk, and they'll tell you where that meeting is, because I haven't been to that one, but they alternate between Clubhouse 1 and the Towers every third Wednesday, and that's another venue where you can get a lot more information on what's happening with the buses. The agenda items for tomorrow are going to be new scheduling, software update, a status of the new buses. We have 2 new Toyota Seneca vans and 1 bus. The vans have ramps. The bus has 8 seats and 1 wheelchair, so it's a 9-passenger van. So not only are these vans more economical, they take less gas, they're smaller so they get in and out of the smaller cul-de-sacs, and we don't need a commercial license for the bus drivers. So a combination of all things, we're saving a lot of money, which I'll mention in a few minutes. The Planaride update, the average is Planaride 650 riders per week and about 95 rides per day, increasing. There's about a 15% cancellation rate, which isn't too bad right now. But late riders really put a kink in the system. It has a domino effect. If you're not out front, they're supposed to wait 5 minutes. They call you and they text you and tell you they're there. But if some cases, the riders are 15 minutes late, and that makes a problem if it's a shared ride and they're going to pick up somebody else, and you make them late for their appointment. And so then there was dismay among the whole system when it was really because a resident was late. So we ask you to be a little more considerate of everyone else who's riding those planner rides. And a correction in the guide, we have this planner ride guide on the last page for frequently asked questions. The phone number was incorrectly printed instead of 268-2950, which belongs to an electronics company. They are getting bogged down with calls from Laguna Woods, so I apologize profusely. The number is supposed to be to call for a planner ride, 949-268-2590. So the correct number is 2590. And I used this yesterday and today, and I called for a same-day appointment yesterday. I called at 11:30 in the morning. They came and picked me at 3, picked me up by 3 because there was an opening. So do not hesitate to call just to see if there's a same-day opening for you to take a ride. And I got to my doctor's. They picked me up at 5. I got to ride in the brand-new bus, which was really neat, and talked to the bus drivers. I shared the rides. I got to meet some new friends. So, but anyway, make those corrections. We thought we pulled all these and corrected them, but I just got this one this morning from the bus driver. So please be aware, we apologize if it's frustrating for anyone calling the number, especially that electronics company. Correction also we're going to be talking about, at the meeting, we'll correct the minutes and the report from last month. It was just sort of a minor thing. We reported that the 2018 budget was $2,249,487, which showed a decrease of $50,000 from the prior year, where in fact the 2017 budget was $2,214,056, and the 2018 budget was increased by $35,431. So that's the difference between the $2,249,487 and the $2,214,056. So will we change the minutes tomorrow to reflect that change? The decrease, what we did save in part was actually we decreased operational expense by the $50,000, and that's what the report was supposed to say, $50,159. It was the total reduction in expenses that resulted from our reducing part-time bus drivers' hours, reduced bus stops, reduced routes, and less gas. So we were able to save the $35,431 from changing our bus route. Overall, we're pretty confident that as more and more people need to take advantage of the planner ride. I was skeptical at first, but I think when we get enough people using it, it's really going to be a benefit to the community, and there's no doubt in my mind. Also, that came up in the past, different clubs have come to the committee to request the use of a bus shuttle to transport their members to a special event outside the community, but within our normal service route. In other words, within the circumference from where our buses do go. So, like if the mall, the Trader Joe's, or somewhere in that circumference. So if you have a function that's within that perimeter, you can come to the M&V meeting and request that service. Now, according to the staff report from Bruce Hartley, the Village Harmonaires are the only club using this free service 5 to 6 times a year. In some cases in the past, these trips were approved with only the committee approval and never went to the full board. So I'd sort of like to look into that. And then we're also going to discuss the resolution, the charter, and a charter is a governing document that mandates how the committee and the management together will, quote from the bylaws, serve at the pleasure of this board. So we're going to be editing that. And don't forget, tomorrow, 4 o'clock, 1:30 in this room, and we'll have pictures of the new buses and talk about the schedule and about the money. Thank you.
Yes, Beth.
Judith, could you please repeat that number for Plan a Ride?
The correct number is 949-268-2590. And it's a voice prompt. And they'll tell you what information you have to leave and what time you want your ride for the next day. Now, this is the number to call for the next day. And then they'll call you back and confirm if you have that ride or not. So you have to wait for them to call you back. So leave good contact information, email, text, and phone number, and manor number. But to call for same day, just to see if there is an opening, you'd call the 949-597-4659. That's the transportation office. And that's who you would call to chance getting a same day. And I've used the same day twice and got it, so never know. Okay, the transportation office, 949-597-4659. And that's for same day or transportation information in general. And to call for the next day appointment, 949-268-2590.
Okay. Item F, report of Security and Community Access Committee, Director Sol.
All right. There was no meeting in March, as we meet every other month on the fourth Thursday of even months. I'd like to just give you some updates. Gate access project for the installation of gate arms at gates 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9, and 14 is on track. Currently, DMC Engineering is completing their review and inclusion into the design work scope. We expect it to go out to bid in June with construction starting in August or September. The order of gate construction has not yet been determined, but ample notification will be provided to ensure effective flow of traffic in and out of the community. Pedestrian kiosks with attached camera and intercom have been added to the work scope. Mobile generators to power gatehouses during emergencies or power outages have also been added to the work scope. Maintenance is obtaining load requirements to power the entire community service building. Due to excessive construction and contractor vehicle parking violations, security traffic specialists are conducting directed patrols and citing all construction vehicles parked in the cul-de-sacs or visitor spaces. Contractors and their crews are required to park on the street. Contractors are allowed to unload their equipment, but then must move their vehicles out to the street. Residents are encouraged to educate and remind their contractors of the community parking rules. Over 100 vehicles were cited last week. The Contractors Forum, which is a town hall meeting, will occur on Thursday, April the 5th, from 1:30 to 3 o'clock here in the boardroom. Security will be recruiting for a community service officer to conduct parking enforcement for contractor vehicles, illegally parked vehicles, and plug-in violations for both electric vehicles and golf carts. They will also be checking to ensure construction permits have been obtained and properly posted at manors where remodels are occurring. Residents are strongly encouraged to contact Manor Alterations with any questions or concerns involving permits. On another note, some folks have requested RFID rollout again for free stickers. Please note that this one-time opportunity came at a cost of about $80,000 to the entire membership. Those of you who did not seize upon this opportunity when offered or are new to the community since the rollout will have to pay the $25 for the RFID sticker. The next scheduled Security and Community Access Committee meeting is Thursday, April 26th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Report of traffic hearings, Director Gross.
We had a traffic hearing last month, and there were a total of 18 persons that showed up. There were 4 for parking, 4 for stop signs, 6 for speed, and 4 for license and permit entries. And a lot of people think that because they're up in age, they don't need new licenses on their vehicles, nor do they need new driver's licenses. So we explained that to them, and we suggest that they obtain a book from the DMV that gives you all kind of good information. A lot of people are concerned to say, well, let's play to make a deal. The committee has a methodology of playing let's make a deal, so to speak. When we hear the situation as to what occurred, we see photographs and or pictures or whatever the situation is, and then we decide if everything is correct. People have emergency situations when they're stopped, and different things go on. But just to give you an idea of how many, say, let's make a deal, we avoided 241 cases last month, or up to, not last month, but through from January to last month. There were 36 people that attended the traffic school. That's another way of not paying the $100 fine. For instance, you only pay $20 in this building for 2 hours. There were a total of 2,546 citations issued from January through March. And this is the results of what we get. A lot of people also don't stop when the officers are stopping or attempting to stop them. They go out of the place. So what happens is that the officers take a picture of the license plate. They can't stop them on the outside. They take a picture of the license plate and a picture of the person driving. Then they get a letter. That is shown to them. Some people just refuse to stop. They don't want to stop. So that's why you'll get a letter through the mail. And many times, like I say, we do have ways of, say, we can reduce the fine or do different things. So it's a real important to understand. And just as an aside, for people to be able to move in and out of here freely, at most signals, there are designs in a cement street, for instance, that either a circle or a square when you come to the white limit line. If you don't go over, and what I'm talking about is like there's a circle in the street or a square or lines. If you don't go up to the white limit line, the camera on the light signal doesn't know you're there. This thing tells their computer, hey, there's a car in this lane. Let's move this up. Otherwise, you may have to wait for 2 rounds. Just a thought. Coming into this area, for instance, we come on El Toro into coming in here, there are 3 circles for left turns. Those circles, just like that, big round circles, maybe you can't see them, but they're in the asphalt. It looks like a cut in there. That tells the light, again, hey, we're 3 or 4 vehicles here, and it does speed up the situation. Just an afterthought. Thank you.
Report of disaster preparedness, Director Troutman.
Okay, the Disaster Preparedness Task Force meets every month, usually on the 4th Wednesday, 9:30 in the Cypress Room. This month, we had someone from Community Relations, a consultant from Care More Touch, and he gave a presentation on disaster and emergency preparedness. He specialized in education of diabetics and additional supplies needed during an emergency for people with that illness. We need to stay aware. Every month, we update ourselves and learn about what our responsibilities are in case we have a disaster. This year's Senior Summit is being sponsored by Security, and it's scheduled for April 20th. Clubhouse 5 at 9 a.m. The topic will be disaster preparedness under the heading, Life Can Change in an Instant. Are you ready? So Chief Moore will be one of the main presenters. We also are up. Reservations required? Okay. Okay, missed that. Okay. Who do we call? Just Tim Moore? Who do we call? Because they didn't tell us.
Yeah, I've got this.
On the flyer?
The
It's a phone number, and they have to RSVP by the They must RSVP by April 13th, and the number to call is an 800 number to RSVP, and it's 800-510-2020, or you could call a 714 number, and that's 480-6450.
Thank you. That makes a big difference. Because for the early comers, they're serving breakfast, and for the afternoon, they're serving a lunch. So that's one of the reasons we need the RSVP. I was wondering how they're going to do that. Okay, recruitment, we're still asking for individuals to be good neighbor building captains. And if you want more information for that, just call me or go down to the disaster preparedness office here on the first floor of the community center. The number for that office is 597-4237, and they can give you an application and any information on when the next class is for a good neighbor building captain. Also, if you live in the community and you have a background, any kind of medical background, either a retired doctor or nurse or paramedic or EMT, would like to put your name on a database where you can assist in the care and reception centers if there were an emergency. We'd like to have somebody, at least one person at each of the clubhouses there. While we're talking about care and reception centers, there was a article in the Globe under the letters 3 weeks ago. Gate 14 does not have a clubhouse, so its care and reception center is building 4008 down in the rec room downstairs. And that's where you would go if you need help during a disaster and get any questions answered. You may not have a phone, but so I would find out ahead of time from wherever you're located how you would get to 4008 and down in the parking garage and the rec room. So that's just a little difference there. So if you go on the website, we have information on the Laguna Woods Village website. There's also forms on the website. And third board members are concerned about frequent power outages in Gate 6 area. So they were concerned that security's been sort of overwhelmed. We have what thing we call Code Red, and this is why it's important to update your emergency information. Call resident services and make sure they have the right phone numbers, the right emails, so they can either text you, email you, or call you and leave a voice message that your area is having a blackout, or whether it's the whole village and we're having bad weather or a flood or something of that nature. But we have that Code Red, and we can't get to you or leave that information if we don't have the correct contact information. So please remember to do that. And it's really important that you get that to the resident services. If you're still not sure, you can always go over to the office here on the first floor. Again, that number is 597-4237. So, Health and Professional Database. Okay, so if you have any more questions about any of this, just stop by the Disaster Preparedness Office. Thank you.
Excuse me, one correction, you said the fourth Wednesday, it's the fourth Tuesday?
Okay, we've been having them on Wednesdays. Sometimes we don't have.
Always Tuesday.
Okay.
It's the 24th, which is a Tuesday.
Okay, I've been going on Thursday. Okay. Oh, the disaster preparedness, yes. Yes, Tuesday, the 27th was our last one, correct? So, and we have them every month, when there is 4 Tuesdays in a month. So there's no, there is 4 Tuesdays in this month. I think we just had a problem with February. Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 15, future agenda items. All matters listed under future agenda items are resolutions on 30-day public review or items for future board meetings. No action will be taken by the board on these agenda items at this meeting. A, entertain a motion to approve a resolution for amendment on the golf cart policies and procedures. B, entertain a motion to approve a resolution ratifying EV charge station fees. Entertain a motion to approve a resolution for electric payment policy. D, entertain a motion to approve the design and creation of a decorative art wall in Clubhouse 4. E, entertain a motion to approve policies and for capital improvement projects to be reviewed by corporate members and procedures for corporate member meetings. All of these will be in the future. Item 16, Director comments. Mr. Mattson.
M&T is just fine.
Director Troutman.
I'm good. Hope everyone had a happy Passover, happy Easter.
Director Phelps.
I just want to tag on to what Joan said regarding the church that was trying to get the broadband, that when they do, it will not cost us anything to get them their service, and monthly they will pay a commercial rate. They don't pay the same rate that we pay. They'll pay a higher rate.
Director Gross.
Yes, for Laguna Canyon Foundation, I make sure that there are at least 40 copies made for the beginning at each month so that people can obtain these copies at the front desk. If you have any questions, there's all kind of information going on here. When those are gone, we make sure to get more. If you have any questions to call, you can call them Monday through Friday, 949 area code 497-8324. That's 497-8324, or Saturday and Sunday, 923-2235, 923-2235. And as I mentioned earlier, if anybody still here would like to see the copy of the large routes that were there, I have it on my phone here, and I can show it to you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Director Parrott.
No comment, thank you.
Director Palmer.
No comment.
Director Soul.
No comment, thank you.
Director Millman.
I just want to mention, I got an email and regarding the wall that we were considering making a mural, but there's far too great a risk. They think staff is concerned about the risks involved in a project like this, so we're probably not going to do that.
Thank you. Your comment will be answered. I've directed staff to answer your question and to contact you. They will be doing that. She will handle that. Okay? I want your questions answered. I have no further comment. This meeting is recessed. Meet upstairs, executive session.